Hi everyone, it's Saria here. Good to see you. Um, and welcome for those of you who are watching the replay. If you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay so I can say hi afterwards. How are you doing today? In the UK, it's a beautiful sunny day. Lots of sunshine and blue skies. How is it where you are? Um, Whew. I know that today is quite a heavy subject that I am bringing to you, but it's possibly a subject that a lot of people just are not aware of. That you frequently, I'm just taking the links and putting them into the groups so that people can find them because often Facebook doesn't give an alert. So if you see me looking a bit distracted, that's just why, so that everybody can see it. Um, you know, so many people have probably had emotional abuse, but just don't even know. So I want to be able to share with you what emotional abuse is, because when you know what it is, you're able to identify it, and you're also able to stop yourself repeating it. It takes a bit of practice, and if you're struggling with that, we're running the Tame the Triggers workshop coming up, and I will put the link in the comments for you. And if you want the link, just tag me. And if I haven't been able to put the link there, then let me know because I would love you to come and join us. But for so many of us, we don't even realize um, what emotional abuse is, because we're very well aware often of what sexual abuse is and physical abuse is. But people haven't necessarily taught or spoken a lot about what emotional abuse is. So I'd love to share with you what emotional abuse is and what the impact is on us, because so often we live lives thinking that we are bad, when the truth is we are not bad. What happened to us makes us feel a certain way about ourselves. So let's go through and talk about. I'm just putting the link quickly in the group so that people can find it, because I don't want folk to miss out. Facebook is not, for some reason, not showing the links, and it's really annoying. So yeah, let me just find it for you. Okay. Right, so let's begin. Let me find the link so I can find the comments. So if you've got any questions as I go along, you're welcome to share in the comments. This is a public video, but you can ask away and I'm happy to respond to you as we go. And if you get benefit from it, I'd so appreciate you sharing it so that we can get this message out to a lot of people, because people don't realize what emotional abuse is. And they just think, I'm bad, there's something wrong with me. But actually, what was wrong is that you had emotional abuse. So often I work with clients and they say to me that what happened to them wasn't that bad. And it makes me really sad when I hear that, because that is emotional abuse that they're doing to themselves. They straight away saying, they literally are holding up, hey, this is how I was treated. And that belittling or negation or minimizing is emotional abuse, of saying what happened to you wasn't that bad. And I just want to give you a sense of how bad it is. Research has shown that folk who were sexually abused and physically abused are 3 or 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than average people who haven't had sexual or physical abuse, which is horrendous in itself, and it makes sense. You have intrusive thoughts and you feel ashamed of yourself until you've healed what happened to you. But for folk with emotional abuse, different researchers have shown that you're 5 to 7 times more likely to attempt suicide if you've had emotional abuse. Why is that? Why is it so much bigger than just physical and emotional and sexual abuse? It's because when you are emotionally abused, You feel like you're invisible, you don't matter, and you just feel this sense of nobody genuinely cares for who I am and what I feel like, so I would rather not be here. And if that's you, I would so love you to join the upcoming workshop, because you will get to understand more. And I've put the link there, it's restoring.love. You will get to understand more about yourself and really have a breakthrough in how you treat yourself and learn how to value yourself. Okay, enough about that. Let's look at what emotional abuse is first. So emotional abuse, I'm looking down at my notes. So if you see me looking down, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just making sure that I remember everything. So emotional abuse is humiliating and constantly criticizing. So if you've got a parent who puts you down or who makes jokes about you so that you feel ashamed of who you are, that's emotional abuse. So like my father loved seeing me cry. He got such satisfaction from it and humiliating me. So he would just like a wind up merchant, loving seeing me get upset. That's emotional abuse. It's like, I don't care about you. I'm going to use you as the fuel for my power and my humor and make you feel awful about yourself. I don't care about the impact that it has on you. Hands up if that was what your life was like. It was awful to live that. The next is threatening, scaring, and shouting, where you feel like you are unsafe. And that can be because there's domestic violence around. It can be, if you do that again, I'm going to hurt you. The simplest one that many of us have had is, if you don't shut up, I'm going to give you something to cry about. Hands up, who had that? I had that so many times. And that sort of threat, and I don't smile because it's funny. I smile because I didn't realize that other people had that. And when I shared that on Home for Restoring Love, so many people experienced that. And it just made me feel so validated that I wasn't alone. So that sort of threatening makes you feel like you're unsafe in the world. So then it becomes, as an adult, quite scary to step out into the world because you feel like the world's unsafe. Then there's mocking and shaming, and I shared that a little bit before, and the target of jokes. So who you are is a laughing matter, not somebody to be taken seriously or valued or cherished or treasured as a precious human being. The next is blaming and scapegoating. So somebody is just made wrong, like the black sheep of the family. And the targeting is really weird. In society generally right now, we can see so strongly how it happens in racism, it happens with neurodiversity, it happens with weight, it happens with age, but it's hugely impacting folk who are, and sexism, where women are targeted. That happened in my family, where women were targeted. And I grew up with a very racist father, and I used to stand up to him and say, how do you think that's okay to treat somebody like that? And then he just hated me for standing up and calling out his racism. So, when you have that racism of somebody looking at you like you are less than because of the color of your skin, that's emotional abuse. That's saying, I don't care about the impact of my treatment on you. You don't deserve to be here. And it makes you feel awful inside. Then the next is expecting you to behave as an adult. And that often happens, especially with Black communities, where as a young child, society expects Black people to, you see it in the media of where a child was expected to be an adult, whereas white kids often will get away with whatever that is. And that's emotional abuse of treating people. And then in many societies or many families, what happens is that the scapegoat or the abused child is expected to be the parent to the non-functioning adult. So whether the parent had alcohol issues, mental health issues, and that's just violating the child's sense of self, that who they are as an independent being, that they can flourish and be happy as themselves. Instead, they're expected to abandon themselves and be the parent to somebody else. And that sets them up for all sorts that we're going to look at in a minute. Then there's dismissing, negating, ignoring, and silencing somebody. So if somebody says, this is what I'm feeling, and you say, oh, well, you think you've got it bad. You should see how other people are treated. That's what happened to me. Or if you say, Mama, I don't understand why he hit me. Oh, why is it always about you? Well, because he just hit me. But why do you always make it about you? Because I'm in pain and it's hurting. Oh, you're so selfish to just think of yourself. If he's hurting you, he must be upset. Who else had that sort of commenting? Or it's just like, why don't you be happy and grateful for what you've got? That's dismissal and bypassing your experience. Then there's gaslighting, which is turning it around and going, well, if you didn't do this, this wouldn't have happened. And it makes the other person doubt and question themselves rather than be valued and validated. And then there's blanking and showing no interest. And this is one of the worst things, because what it does to somebody is literally make them feel like they've got no sense of self and they're worthless. So one client I worked with, she was ignored and her sister was treated like she was everything. So her sister got horse riding lessons and dance lessons and swimming lessons. And the other one was expected to tidy the house and criticized for not tidying the house. And when she worked with me, what she had to learn is to notice, what do I like? What do I not like? Because she had no sense of self. She didn't even know what her favorite color was. She didn't know what she liked to wear. She just wore whatever she was given or whatever people told her, but she didn't know what she liked because she didn't have the sense of self and she felt so worthless in herself. And that's the impact of having somebody who is not interested in you, who doesn't care for you. And, you know, she did a couple of my programs and it just made such a difference to her to wake up to what her dreams were what mattered to her, and to learn that she was somebody important and her interests mattered. If you have a low self-esteem and a sense of worthlessness, come and join the Tame the Triggers workshop that's happening. I'm opening the doors next week, but it happens on Monday the 14th. And you'll get so much out of it. The link there is there, restoring.love. So let's look at the impact of all of these things. Firstly, the negative self-talk. You might hear the voice in your head that is always telling you that you're wrong. I'll give you an example of how that's shifted for me. Yesterday, I had a call with my membership. I've got a private membership that is ongoing where I work with people in a group. And I had a call with them and I was trying to do it in two places so that people who were online could see it and people could see it on Zoom. And I couldn't get it to work. But in my head, I was hearing, it's okay, you're showing up for everybody. Had that happened years ago, I would have been red in the face, angry, frustrated, feeling ashamed and embarrassed. But because I've worked so much on myself in all of this, it's really shifted how I treat myself as I'm going along. All right. So that's a negative self-talk. And I want to tell you about Sarah who had that. Sarah was often so negating and critical. And after working with me in my programs and workshops, she said one day she was sitting in the car and she looked up and she suddenly heard in her head, wow, you're beautiful. And that's the first time that her being in itself had automatically said that to her. And she said it was just through listening to the words that I said to her, that before she had this negative self voice that was just like at her all the time. Then slowly she began to hear my voice instead. And finally her own voice started speaking to her in a kind way. So one for you, for those of you who've had emotional abuse, it won't be like that forever, but it does take working on it to shift, so that you come to know I deserve better and I'm going to shift that. We'll be looking at that in the Tame the Triggers workshop. So come and join and see and shift that in yourself. The next is feeling unlovable and unworthy. If you've been ignored, silenced, unmet, and criticized, you begin to think, I am unworthy of love, because if I was worthy of love, I would be treated differently. But if you had a parent who, as you came out into the world, and they were like, "You beautiful being, I'm so happy to have you here." And they woke up every morning going, "Good morning, gorgeous. I'm so glad you're alive." You wouldn't be feeling unlovable and worthless. And as you heal, you will begin to see the pain that is there that was programmed into you. And as you heal that and work and welcome yourself and delight in yourself, things will shift. And I'll teach more about that in the Tame the Triggers workshop. The next is you believe you're a burden. So you get scared to ask people for support because you think you're in the way and nobody wants to help. Because when you reached out for help before, you were like treated like you're an annoyance or in the way or difficult. So you begin to feel, I'm a burden in being alive. Next is a load of shame and self-loathing. So when you do something wrong, you feel deeply embarrassed about yourself. Share in the comments if you can relate to this. Is there something that you experience? Like when you make a mistake, you might just think, oh God, I'm such a terrible person. I can't believe, instead of just going, oh, mistakes happen, it's cool. Just going, oh, well, life happens. I can put it right and I can repair it. When we've had emotional abuse, we just go into deep shame about ourselves and make ourselves so wrong. You might have boundary issues where you allow people to take advantage or you flood other people. And I know I did both of those. And in moments, if I'm like overwhelmed and stressed and doing a lot in life, sometimes those boundaries slip and then it takes me waking up to that I'm doing it again. And generally, I'm really good at those boundaries. But when you've had emotional abuse and you've had a parent flooding criticism at you and you felt like crushed and a doormat, then that's how you allow other people to treat you in the world. Like 26 years ago, I lived shared a flat with somebody, and I came home from work and he said, oh, why don't you lie over there so I can wipe my feet on you? And I was like, well, why would I do that? And he said, you're such a doormat. I thought that I could walk all over you too. And I was like, what? He said, you just give and give and give. And everybody takes advantage. And I was like, what? Like I wasn't even aware that I was doing that. And I was so grateful to him for like waking me up with such a great image of what it was like. And it really helped me because then I ended my relationship with my boyfriend at the time. I was like, God, that I'm done with that. I'm not allowing that to happen anymore. But sometimes it takes that shocking wake up that, oh my God, I've been a doormat, and that's the impact of emotional abuse. And it takes this sense of self to be able to go, I'm not tolerating that anymore. This is what I deserve in life, and this is how it's going to be for me. Then another impact is you think other people are upset with you all the time. So if something happens and you walk past somebody at the shops and they are like frowning and not looking at you, you think, oh God, they must be upset. Oh God, what have I done? And then you ask them how they are and they're like, oh, no, I was just like had an issue at work and I was thinking about it. All's good. But you often will think somebody's upset because you had to do that as a child, watching who's upset with me, who's not, so that you can make the peace. Because as a little kid, you're so desperate for love because you need love to survive. And if you don't have that love, then you try to overfunction to get little scraps of love because you need that to survive. You have a lack of trust in yourself and others. So you don't believe in yourself to be able to achieve your dreams, and you don't believe other people will be there for you. And how this often shows up is you will ask people to be there for you who don't have the capacity. And then you will get let down and you will go, you see, nobody's ever there for me. But people who trust others notice who's not trustworthy, and they don't ask them to do things. They ask the people who are trustworthy to do things because they have that like bullshit meter, or they have that meter of discernment that can see, you're a healthy person. You're not. You can fuck right off because I'm not having that in my life. So people who are healthy and secure know very easily who is healthy and who's not. And this is, they're able to put those boundaries. But whereas people who've had emotional abuse just think they're not worth anything, so they'll tolerate the least, just little scraps. You have low self-worth and self-esteem. And how that impacts a lot of people is feeling you can't go for things. You allow people to mess you around. You don't focus on your dreams because you don't feel like you can. And you feel bad about yourself, like you don't deserve goodness in the world. And I want you to know that's not true, that you truly do deserve goodness and love. And it takes a lot when you're feeling like you're worthless and you don't deserve anything to go, well, I'm going to change it. Because when you don't have that self-esteem, you're like, oh God, I'm just worthless and nothing will ever shift. That is not the truth. The truth is things can shift and they will shift. But it takes you taking a step to be able to do that and following guidance of people who've done it before. You might struggle with emotional regulation, where either you numb yourself out or you disassociate or you just flood in anger, upset, and sort of that hypervigilance where you just calm down and your skin is burning. I know that in extreme places of PTSD, I had that of flipping between lots of anger and numbness, where I couldn't function, just staring at the walls. And I know that I've come from there and been able to shift that. And I know that you can too. And then there's also a sense of self-doubt and fear of being seen. So for those of you, it might be scared of like going for a better job or putting your business out in the world because you're scared of how you're going to get received in the world, because so often people have treated you like you're unwanted and you don't deserve it. So that is the impact of emotional abuse. And, for many, many people, it's horrendous to live that. If you're wanting support in shifting that, hands up if you are. Come and join the Tame the Triggers workshop. It's just 10 minutes a day. It will make such a difference in your life. You will grow in your self-worth. You'll learn how to shift and treat yourself. I open the doors on Monday, so in 2 days' time. It actually starts on the 14th, but I've got a few goodies next week. 10 minutes a day for you to weave love and care and goodness into you and make space for you so that you can shift this emotional abuse and break the cycle so you're no longer treating yourself with that same emotional abuse where you're critical, negating, humiliating, shaming, avoiding, ignoring, numbing yourself. Now is the time to shift it. You didn't deserve emotional abuse then, and you don't deserve it now. Now is the time to overcome it and shift it. And it might not be the time for you, and that's okay too. I don't want to be imposing or telling you what to do. If you feel called to come and join us in the Tame the Triggers workshop, we would love you there. Leap in so that you can overcome emotional abuse and know that you are so worthy, and you can grow that learn secure attachment to yourself where you are responsive, you're attuned, and you're engaging with yourself. So you treat yourself with the secure love that you always deserved, that for whatever reason your parents didn't have the capacity to give to you. And now you can learn those skills to be your own healthy parent and parent yourself now going forward with the love that you've always had or the love that you've always needed and didn't have. What happened to you wasn't fair. And now you can have the skills, the guidance to be able to overcome that and treat yourself with the love and care and cherishing that you've always deserved. Come and join the Tame the Triggers if it calls to you. And I'd so appreciate you sharing this with folk that you know who've gone through emotional abuse so that we can touch their hearts and make a difference in their lives. All right, I'm sending you love. And come click restoring.love and come and join us. All right, love to you. Bye.